ma'am, we have no record of you being blind. And I was like, what? Hi everyone, it is Annie B back again for another video. It is Friday. Happy Friday. It's been a long week. If you are new to this channel, welcome, and don't forget to hit the big red subscribe button. If you've been a subscriber, welcome back. So I've been doing a lot of blind girl videos lately, and today I'm going to be reading my diagnosis letter for when they found out I was blind and reacting to it because I just stumbled across it because I did an audition for this thing called Blind Idol, and then actually sometimes when I apply for jobs and things like that, they also want this. So it's proof of legal blindness. Like, I feel like this. I'm walking around here, you guys. I bump into stuff sometimes. My eyes kind of roll all around. It's called nystagmus. One time at work, I walked into a wall and I didn't realize it was a wall, and I apologized to it, and then I realized it was a wall after that, and then I did like this to see if anyone had seen that, even though doing that wasn't gonna like even help me figure that out because I had no idea. So I mean, I don't know what more proof people want that I'm blind, but people do want this proof of legal blindness. It's necessary for a lot of things. So I was like, where the heck do I get that? So first of all, I called the Commission for the Blind. Okay, now they're just what they sound like. They're a commission for the blind. They help blind people. They do all that kind of stuff. So I had a case with them through the state of New York for years, probably from like 13 through 21 or 22 when they helped me find a job. So I figured if anyone had proof of me being blind, it would be them. So I called them and I said, hi, I need proof of legal blindness. And they said, okay. What's your name? So I give them my name, I give them my date of birth, all my address, all this information. Now, mind you, for them to have this information, it means they have information on me, so they are able to verify that. So they're like, all right, hold on 1 second. So she goes, ma'am, do you have a blind ID? I was like, a what? And she said, a blind ID. Apparently it's a number that they give out. I was like, no, I don't have one. I have no idea what this is. Apparently it's something new within the past 5 years. No. So she's like, all right. So she verifies all my information, my name, all this stuff. She looks it up and goes, ma'am, we have no record of you being blind. And I was like, what? And she said, yeah, we have no record of you being blind. Let me send you this form. Your doctor can fill it out. And so I said, but you're the Commission for the Blind, and you just pulled up my case with my information. And for me to have had a case with you, I had to be blind, right? And they're like, yeah, sorry, we don't have proof that you're blind. So I was like, what happened to the last 10 years of my life? So she's like, I'm going to send you a form. You know, have the doctor fill it out. So I was like, all right, I don't have an eye doctor anymore because basically my eye doctor told me to stop coming back to the eye doctor because nothing was changing, and he was like, you're basically wasting your money when I was younger. So my mom was like, fine, I don't think she's a big fan of my eye doctor anyway. So we stopped going back there. So I didn't have an eye doctor, so I was like, well, I'm sure my regular doctor can do it. They're not asking for like my visual acuity. They don't want to know if I have 20/20, which I obviously don't, or 2200. They're not asking for anything like that. Fine, I'll just call my regular doctor. I'm sure that they can prove I'm blind. It's easy. Like, you can see it. I'm blind. So I call the doctor, and the receptionist answers, and she's like, how can I help you? And I said, I need a letter for proof of legal blindness. And she's like, what? You need what? Who needs that? I was like, I need it. I need it for everything. I need it for my job. I need it for this. I need it for all these things. She's like, I don't really know what to do about that. I'm gonna have a nurse call you back. So then the nurse calls me back an hour later and says, so you need a letter that proves legal blindness. I was like, yeah, can you guys just write one up? I am blind. You know, I've been to the office before. They're like, well, looks like you haven't been in a while. So I'm like, right. they're like, we're gonna need you to come in. I was like, why, ma'am? My sight did not grow back. I promise you, I'm still blind. She's like, no, we're gonna need you to come in. I was like, yeah, for my $25 copay. Okay, so I'm gonna make an appointment with this doctor. So I make an appointment with this doctor, and they call me the day of the appointment and go, so we can't write a letter that proves you're blind. We think you're gonna need an eye doctor to do that. I'm like, you couldn't tell me that before I came in? So then I started looking through emails, and I did need proof of blindness for something else a long time ago for my job training program, actually. And I found this really interesting letter that is my diagnosis of blindness. Now, I already told you guys I have Leber's congenital amaurosis, but they didn't know that until I was about 12. My mom actually just said they accused her of all kinds of crazy stuff. They thought she was like a drug addict. It took them a very long time to diagnose me as being as having Leber's congenital amaurosis. And I found this letter that proved that I was blind and is full of jargon. Some of it I understand, and I'll kind of try to explain it to you as I go, and some of it I don't, so I'm just gonna make up funny stuff about it because it's honestly hysterical. So it's for the University of Buffalo. It was written November 10th, 2003. To James Reynolds, who was my doctor, from another doctor. It says, Dear Jim, history of present illness / chief concern adjournment. I had the pleasure of seeing Anne Marie Brady, that's my government name, y'all, today for evaluation of congenital loss of vision in both eyes. Okay, first of all, this is what jumps out at me first. What do you mean loss of vision? I feel like I never had any vision to, like, can you lose something you didn't have? Like, if I don't have my marbles, can I lose those, or I didn't have them? But they're apparently thinking that I had it at some point before I could remember, before like 6 months old, when they confirmed that I was blind. By the way, they told my mom I wasn't blind, that she was a paranoid new mother. She has essentially had extremely poor vision since she was born. See, with nystagmus, which is what I was just talking about, how my eyes like roll around like I'm a possessed person. She has had macular scars in both eyes. Physical examination. The patient is LP in both eyes. Now, I think that stands for light perception, which means I can see light in both eyes. Yay, blinded by the light. Whatever. I don't know where I was going with that. Slit lamp examination. This is what they did to figure out how I was blind. Let me tell you what happens in a slit lamp examination, okay? So first you go to the doctor's office, and then you get your pupils dilated, which for someone who never goes to the eye doctor and gets eye drops in her eyes, because her eyes basically don't work, is really a rude awakening. Although at least I wasn't temporarily blinded by the dilating pupils, because I was already blinded. So that burned my eyes, right? And then they put these like, they looked like really big, bulky, weird-looking contacts. They put them in my eyes, and I looked like an alien. Then they put my head into, now I'm 12, okay, so this is just what I'm thinking at the time. They put my head into this thing. It looked like a fish bowl, okay? They put my head in this thing that looked like a big fish bowl, and then they just started flashing all kinds of lights in my eyes, which is about as unpleasant as it sounds, because I can see light, so like that hurt. And actually I've also was extra sensitive. So that's what this slit lamp examination is. It reveals quiet anterior segments with stellate posterior subcapsular cataract bilaterally. So if anyone knows what that means, let me know, because I have no idea. Fundus examination, OD, reveals a pale optic nerve with severe attenuation of the retinal arterioles. So first of all, my optic nerve is pale, so that's cool. This is basically telling you that my retina is detached. Now, keep in mind, you guys, I'm not a doctor. I was an English major. I don't know anything about this stuff, but my retina is sort of like detached a little bit. Centrally, there is a large excavated macular scar, which almost looks like a coloboma. Coloboma? I don't know what that is. So basically though, if you if you lift up like my eyelids and shine a light in there, first of all, it's like yellow under there. It almost looks yellow, and there's scars. Like there's actual legitimate and it's not a physical scar from when I did. It's genetic. Examination of the periphery reveals extensive pigmentary changes and bone spicule formation. Now, first of all, I don't know what a bone spicule formation is. It's literally S-P-I-C-U-L-E. Spicule? It makes me sound badass. Like, don't mess with me because I got spicule formation. It sounds serious. Like I got bone spikes in my eyes. Reveals CID with severe pallor of the optic nerve. Okay, so now they're saying my optic nerve is pale again, which I feel like we already talked about. Maybe I just haven't gotten enough sun in my eyes. Maybe I just like the vampire look for my optic nerve. Maybe that's why it's pale. You don't know. There is severe attenuation of the vessels. There is a large central macular scar / color boma present. Examination of the periphery reveals extensive pigmentary degeneration. So now I'm a degenerate. Okay, first I just had pigmentary issues. Now I'm a pigmentary degenerate. Apparently there's not a whole lot of color in my eyes. I actually like feel like I'm lucky with my eyes because a lot of people's eyes are cloudy, and I didn't get the cloudiness in my eyes, but apparently my pigment is degenerated. Basically, I'm a degenerate. Impressions / recommendations for treatment. This patient has some form of congenital visual loss secondary to retinopathy. So retinopathy is another part of what I have. I doubt that this patient has toxoplasmosis, but could have Leber's congenital amaurosis. Toxic plasmosis does not sound good. First of all, I'm going to Google that. What is that? Let's ask Siri.
Toxoplasmosis is a parasitic disease caused by Toxoplasma gondii. Infections with toxoplasmosis usually cause no obvious symptoms in adults. Should I keep going?
No, because I did not understand that. So basically, apparently that's an infection. So it was not caused by any infection. I'd advise that the patient undergo ERG to access the status of the rest of the retina, besides to access the status of the macular region. My sense is this is an autosomal recessive condition, since neither the parents or the grandparents have any disease of this sort. There is, of course, the risk of having sisters with this condition. The probability is 25 to 50% of the risk, and the risk of passing it on is nearly nil. So basically it's saying that had my mother and my father had more kids, there was 1 in 4 to 1 in 2 risk that they would have had another child that was disabled. So basically my condition is a recessive gene, and it's a super rare recessive gene, but both of them just happen to have it. So no one in my family had it. No one in my family was blind. My grandma had macular degeneration as she was older, but no one in my family really started out blind. If this is indeed an autosomal recessive condition, once again, Jim, thank you so much for allowing me to participate in the care of this very interesting patient. Sincerely, MD Mudbrook D. Connie, MD. So basically that was the name of the doctor that finally diagnosed me, and that was a director of Retina Services Department of Ophthalmology at the State University of New York at Buffalo. So yeah, it's super important. I actually remember when they were going over the diagnosis, as they were talking about it, they were like, oh, you know, this happened, 1 in 4 chance of having another kid, blah, blah. So I'm like, see, Mom, it's all your fault. Like, obviously I was just kidding. But the doctor kind of looked up like he couldn't believe that I was understanding what he was saying. And I was like, I'm 12. I mean, I may not have understood all of this medical jargon, which I obviously still don't, except don't mess with me because I got pale spicules in my eyes. But basically, it is just a really interesting read because I had never seen that diagnosis letter. Now, what they want me to do is get they wanted me to get a genetic test to see like which gene it was an issue with. And actually I'm thinking about doing that just to see if I qualify for that new blindness cure. If you haven't seen my video about that, I have a whole video with all my complicated thoughts. But as complicated and confusing as my thoughts are about it, I still want to see if it's an option for me. Just because I want to know if it's an option, whether I can afford it, whether I even want to do it. I just really want to know if it's an option. So they definitely recommended follow-up testing and all that kind of stuff. But that's basically it. So I have this recessive rare disease. There was a 1 in 2 to 1 in 4 shot of it being passed down. And I got pale spicules. So that is all I have for you guys today. It was just a reaction to that letter because I haven't seen it in a very long time. I thought it was like an interesting letter. I thought that this probably why I never went to medical school because I have no idea what half of it means. But that is all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Annie B Videos. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.